Your teenager didn't stop talking to you because they became a teenager. They stopped because they ran a test, and you failed it, and they never told you the test was happening. You remember the exact moment it shifted. Maybe they were 12, maybe 13. The conversations got shorter. The answers became one word. You'd ask how school was and get fine. You'd ask what's wrong and get nothing. You'd try to start something, anything, and hit a wall you couldn't see through. You told yourself it was just a phase. You gave them space. You kept the door open, like every article told you to, and you waited. You're still waiting. Here's what the science actually says. Teenagers don't go quiet because of biology. They go quiet because of calculation. Your teen is constantly running a subconscious cost-benefit analysis every single time they consider telling you something. And at some point, the cost started outweighing the benefit. The silence isn't rebellion, it's self-protection. And the thing that made it unsafe to talk to you probably wasn't one big moment. It was 100 small ones. In 2007, psychologist Joseph Allen at the University of Virginia led a longitudinal study that followed 184 adolescents and their parents across 4 years, from age 13 to 17. They didn't just study what teens said, they tracked when teens decided to share and what predicted that decision more than anything else. It wasn't how much their parents loved them. It wasn't how strict or permissive the household was. It wasn't even how much time families spent together. The single strongest predictor of whether a teenager would open up was whether they believed their parent could handle the information without overreacting. Not whether they trusted you, whether they believed you could handle it. There's a critical difference. Your teenager may love you completely and still believe, based on past experience, that telling you certain things will result in a lecture, a punishment, a look of disappointment, or an emotional reaction that makes them feel responsible for your feelings. That's an impossible position to be in. So they learn to manage it by managing what you know. When that calculation plays out enough times, they stop testing. They already know the answer. And the silence that feels like distance to you feels like survival to them. A 2012 study from the University of Rochester surveyed 1,000 adolescents between the ages of 14 and 18 and asked them directly, what determines what you tell your parents? The number one answer wasn't anger. It wasn't rules or punishments. It was whether their parent would understand them. 74% of teens who described their parents as understanding said they voluntarily shared information about their lives, friendships, relationships, problems at school, without being asked. Among teens who described their parents as likely to overreact, that number dropped to 22%. Same ages, same topics, same family structures, completely different outcomes, based entirely on one thing: how safe it felt to speak. The most common advice parents receive is this: keep the door open. Let them know you're always there. Don't push. And while that's not wrong, it misses the most important part. An open door means nothing if your teenager has learned that walking through it leads to pain. A 2018 study from the University of Michigan found that parents who described themselves as having an open door policy were rated by their own teenagers as safe to talk to only 31% of the time. The gap between what parents believe about themselves and what their teenagers actually experience is one of the most consistent findings in adolescent psychology. You can believe the door is open. Your teenager knows whether it actually is. What the research points to is something called autonomy supportive parenting, and it has nothing to do with being lenient. It means responding to what your teen shares in a way that doesn't make them regret sharing it. No immediate advice. No, when I was your age. No visible panic. No making their problem about your feelings. A 2020 meta-analysis published in Developmental Psychology reviewed 47 studies across 23 countries and found that teens with autonomy-supportive parents were significantly more likely to disclose problems voluntarily, including serious ones like substance use, mental health struggles, and relationship difficulties. Not because those parents were permissive, because their teenagers knew the conversation wouldn't cost them anything. The goal isn't to become your teen's best friend, it's to become someone whose reaction they don't need to rehearse before speaking. Here's what no parenting book puts on the cover. Your teenager isn't pulling away from you, they're pulling away from a version of you they've experienced before. The version that got scared, or angry, or disappointed in a way they didn't know how to hold. They're not punishing you, they're just done absorbing the weight of your reaction on top of everything they're already carrying. They still want to talk to you, more than you know. They're waiting to find out if it's safe. That's not something they'll say out loud, but it's something you can answer. Not with a speech about keeping the door open, but with how you respond the next time they hand you something small. That moment will come. What you do with it is everything. If this video made you think of a conversation you've been missing, subscribe for more content on the psychology behind the relationships that matter most. And tell me in the comments, is there a specific moment you remember when your teenager first started going quiet? What was happening at the time?